Okay, guys, thank you so much and welcome to our YouTube channel. This is Manchester United and Everything Football. This is the first episode of this beautiful podcast we've put together for you Manchester United fans and every lover of football. My name is Kwame and he is Kwame as well. I'm doing this with this amazing gentleman, great football knowledge. He's a brother, and we'll be doing it together throughout the season with you. Yes, we'll be doing that with you. He's in Hamburg and I'm in Accra, so we are connecting, and then we'll be discussing a lot of things with regards to Manchester United, football, and every other thing that we find very fascinating with a beautiful game here on this YouTube channel. Please remember to subscribe to our channel as well. Also, remember to share it with your friends because we'll be having great discussions. I promise you, very, very insightful ones that you'd want to stick and stay with us. Kwame, how excited are you? For me, I'm really excited about this whole project.
Super excited. I've been looking forward to this for quite some time now and can't wait to get it started.
How long have we been planning this? It's been quite some time for me.
It's been quite some time. Procrastinations here and there, but then
finally
let's just get it going.
All right. Let's just get it going. So welcome to our channel once again. So stick and stay with us. We'll be back right after this. Please remember to subscribe to the channel and also share. Yes, share with your friends who are equally United fans and also lover of football as we're bringing you great things. So we'll be back right after this. Okay. All right, welcome back to our channel. And as we introduced, this is Manchester United and Everything Football. So basically, we'll be discussing everything Manchester United. And on our list today, we'll be looking at United in perspective from last season. If you remember, 2 seasons ago, United went through a lot of troubles. As a result of that, a new coach had to come in Erik ten Hag, the Dutch taskmaster, who came in, try to, do his bit to ensure that the club is back on track, trying to uplift the standards and making sure the club is at a level that we have known the club to be. I don't know what, Kwame, you think, but we've had a lot of discussions with regards to Erik ten Hag and what he's brought to the club. But in about 2 to 3 minutes, give me your perspective. What do you think Erik has done to this club ever since he came in? Because he's had to, he's one of the managers that has faced a lot of adversities along the line with the work that he's done at United. What do you think, Kwame?
Love him or love him, what you can clearly see is this a man who has a plan. That's the thing, he's a man who has a plan, and fortunately he's walked into United at a time where things are quite similar to how he used to operate at Ajax. That's been very helpful in the sense that we have a football structure in place. We have a director of, is it a sporting director of football?
Yeah, director of football.
Yeah,
John Mentor. Yeah.
We have him in place. We have if you take it back to his time at Ajax, I think he had Overmars, he had Van der Sar as CEO, he had Overmars as the director of football, and he was the coach at the time. Similar structure right now, Richard Arnold as the CEO, Mertog as the director of football, and then he comes in as the manager. So familiarity, it's there. And he's laid down the marker in terms of discipline, very, very important to him, in terms of how he wants to actually play. He understands what Manchester United's history is about. People talk about the United way all the time. What is the United way? It's just, bringing through youth, playing good attacking football, what he describes as transition football, right? And then just winning trophies. If you look at his time so far, he's brought in some young players from the academy. He's also signed some young players as well. He's already won a trophy, and we can clearly see the kind of football that he wants to play. It's a work in progress, but I'm sure we'll get there.
It's a work in progress. For me, one thing that's been fascinating is the kind of decisions he's had to make. Sending out
really tough ones.
Very tough decisions. The issue with Cristiano Ronaldo isn't one that will go down lightly with a lot of players and even a lot of fans, given the figure Cristiano Ronaldo is what he brings to the club in terms of revenue, his appeal, his footballing abilities, and all of that.
Even his history with the club.
His history with the club, and having to make that kind of decision. We've had a goalkeeper who we've all seen. I'm sure if you're a kid and you started following United in 2011, the only goalkeeper you may have noticed as David De Gea, and what he's been at with the club over 11 years with the club, and Ten Hag comes in, weighs his kind of football, and vis-a-vis the skill sets and what David De Gea brings to the club in terms of the way he wants to play, makes that tough decision, sends him away, says that, okay, David, it's your time. Your time is up now. You've been with the club for a very long time, but I realize that the way we want to play and your skill sets do not match. So it's time for you to work. You know, all of these decisions that he's had to be, he's been confronted with over this period that he's had to deal with, and it tells you the kind of a person he is. I don't know what you think about that as well.
Yeah, it speaks volumes, really. It really does. He's a man who has his own ideas and is ready to fight for his ideas, basically. And then the club is trying to do its best to back him as much as possible, including allowing him to be able to make such big decisions. Like I said before, he's walked into a situation where United is kind of new, because when you look at events over the past 10 years, ever since the great Sir Alex Ferguson left us, we were thrown into a situation where we had a CEO who had very little football knowledge, commercially outstanding, but very little football knowledge, and was unwilling to accept football people around him to be able to, you know, put things together. But then Eric walks into a situation where there's a football structure. People have questions about whether it's an effective football structure, but then it's barely been in place.
Or even question the competence of the people within the structure.
Exactly. But then what you do see is things are working from that perspective, you know. They are supporting the manager, they are allowing the manager to, you know, have his way. And that's what I personally prefer, that the manager has his way. And if things, we're not allowed to curse on this show yet, but then if things go south, then we can hold the manager to blame and say, you know what, we gave you all the support, we gave you every single thing that you needed, and things aren't working. But then so far, I believe so far so good in terms of how far we have come since he took charge.
And in terms of the football itself, the development of, he calls it the way of play, the development of the game. If I cast my mind back as the season started against Brighton, tried to play from the back, had difficulty, so it became very difficult for us. We conceded 2 goals from, you know, turnovers. Went to Brentford, the Brentford disaster, as we would call it, in that green kit, in that on that fateful afternoon. I don't know where you were, but I was utterly devastated.
I don't want to even remember.
I don't want to remember that game, but clearly you could see that in the third game there was a complete shift on how he wanted, the ideas he had, and how he was quickly adapted to the quality or the players he has in order to, you know, change the way or alter the way we played a bit, from building from the back to going long and contesting for second balls and all of that. It's one thing that has impressed me. He comes along as a coach who adapts to what he has, and is one thing that, for me, I like about my coaches. I like my coaches to have their principles, their way of doing things. However, given circumstances and given events that surrounds the way things go, they're able to alter the way they go about their things and all of that. I don't know, in terms of the results, ending the drought, getting us top 4, the season as a whole, with respect to the football, what do you think?
So earlier on, you made mention of the fact that he had to get rid of certain players for this particular season. But then reviewing last season, what happened was he walked into a situation where he did sign a few players, but then there were certain players in the squad that could not have played the type of football that ideally he would have loved. Case in point, David De Gea behind, Ronaldo up front. He would want a team that's able to press up front. Ronaldo had gone on a bit in terms of age, So pressing wasn't really going to be his forte. David De Gea playing out of the back was always going to be a nightmare, as we saw in the first couple of games of the season. Erik ten Hag is smart, but he's not stubborn. That's the good thing. We're lucky. You've got managers who come in and insist on playing their philosophy all through, even things are not going right. And then the results keep on getting worse and worse. But unfortunately, what he did was he adapted to the team that he had at that particular point in time, put in a few of his players later on, as we signed a few more players in the window. Case in point, Anthony and then Casemiro, who came to help us stabilize, get a bit more stable. And then we started churning out results. Confidence kept on building. We went for the World Cup. We came back, and then we went on, I don't know, we went like 9 or 10 games unbeaten. I think we won a lot of those games, 8 wins out of 10, something like that. We put together a run, a very good run. Yeah. And that's what sort of shaped us for a good ending to the season. We played as many games as any team could play last season. Yeah. We came up short in one cup final. We won another trophy. We won a trophy for the first time in 6 years, right? And then we finished comfortably in the top 4. It was a satisfactory season. You can call it that. It's not United standard to be able to accept such a thing, but then after everything that's gone on over the past, let's say 10 years, we can just say that was a good season.
So on the back of the season we had, and doing an analysis of the way we played, I just want us to quickly shift into the transfers. And a transfer window grants us an opportunity to look at areas where we feel we can make changes to the playing squad, how we can prune the squad, or how we can make known. Eric has been in the job for 1 year. He's had a very good assessment of the squad, what to expect and everything. So decides that, okay, I want this player or that player. In the end, United have signed 3 players in Mason Mount, in Rasmus Højlund, and Andre Onana. I don't know what you make of it. I want us to first touch on the primary businesses that we've done so far. Bringing in a striker, bringing in a midfielder, and bringing in a goalkeeper. Let's start with Andre Onana. What do you think Andre Onana brings to this team?
All right, so for all the love that David De Gea gets from a lot of our fan base, especially our young fans who hadn't seen other keepers prior to David De Gea, he had to go. You can be at a club for that long, 12 years, but then it comes a time where you become outdated, you know. David De Gea always had problems with his feet, always had problems coming out for crosses. He wasn't the biggest, most intimidating of goalkeepers, an excellent shot stopper, you know, excellent shot stopper, world-class shot stopper. He has served us well to a point. But over the past 3 or 4 years, we needed to evolve. Football has evolved, where the goalkeeper is basically the 11th outfield player, you know, the 11th outfield player. That's what Andre Onana brings. We all saw his output in the Champions League final. I have been a big fan of Andre Onana for quite some time now, as you have always been aware.
Yes.
But then the Champions League final brought everyone's attention.
He took it to another level.
How effective he could be as a ball player.
Pep says that if you're a man, go and press that guy.
Yeah, that's just a waste of time. It's just an absolute waste of time. So what he will bring us is the ability to be able to, you know, play higher up the pitch, set our attacking actions like more quickly, you know, keep the ball moving, you know, set us up in transitions. His kicking long is absolutely fantastic. He could just move us up the pitch really quick. That's how come we actually bought a center forward with size, with height, and ability to hold the ball up in Rasmus Højlund. I'd have preferred who just went to buy him.
Of course.
But then, exactly, as we're talking about Harry Kane here. But then, Højlund is everything that Erik ten Hag actually stands for. He brings through young players, develops young players with potential, and he helps them unearth that potential. If you talk about value for money, one may have a very good argument to say buying the next big thing is better than buying a 30-year-old who would soon be on a decline. So Andre Onana in front and at the back, you have Højlund in the middle, and then you have It's a Mason Mount. Mason Mount is a subject of debate amongst a lot of
course,
fans.
our fan base, yes.
But then, principle-wise, in terms of how Eric wants to play, his transition football and everything, you need somebody in the middle of the park who has the energy to be able to press and counter press. We also saw Eriksen as his primary starter last season in that same role, but then energy-wise, Eriksen isn't really there anymore. It's not a young Eriksen. His heart ain't great either. We all know about the unfortunate incidents. It's just good to have him playing football again, but then he has his limitations. So you look at the weaknesses of the team last season. Eriksen was an obvious weakness in our starting 11. David De Gea, we all know, obvious weakness. And after getting rid of Ronaldo, he never really got a chance to replace him properly. Wout Weghorst came in to do a bit, but then we really needed a long-term replacement. So there you are. Our three main signings were actual necessities. As to the choice of the players that he's decided to go for, it's a subject for debate. We have the whole season to actually have an in-depth look as to whether they do work out, but I understand each and every single one of them.
All right. So on the back of that, so from my understanding of how the whole transfers are going for United, I realized that the club has decided to focus on a primary target, which the club has done its best to secure. Now it has to do with trying to offload certain players, making funds available to get in certain players. So we know that the club has agreed a deal with West Ham United to get Harry Maguire out of the club. The club has also agreed a deal to sell Fred to Fenerbahce. We are hearing news of Donny van de Beek also leaving, and there's a higher chance that the club is likely to sign one more centre back as well as a midfielder to come in to help the cause of the things that we are doing. I don't know what your take will be on this particular situation in terms of the structure. Just sum it up in like 2 minutes for me. Your thought on this whole.
All right. So the reason why we have sort of taken a pause after that early flurry of signings is basically because we have financial fair play issues, of which we have to sort of sell players before we can make further signings. So we have had to, sell Harry Maguire, which most fans are actually delighted about, because Harry Maguire over the last couple of years has not been his best self. He's not been the best leader at Manchester United. He lost his captaincy. He's lost his starting role in the team. It's basically like fourth or fifth choice. Yeah. So we just had to replace him and get someone better. But then he had to go out. Fred has had to leave because he has just 1 year left on his contract. Donny van de Beek hasn't actually worked, So being able to sell these players for decent amount of money coming in will allow us to be able to augment the squad further. If we're only going to sign the 3 players that we have already signed, I would have felt this window was completely underwhelming. Yeah. But if we do carry out signing Todibo, as many have reported, I think he's a fantastic signing. He's the direct opposite in terms of his attributes to Harry Maguire. Yeah. Pacey, young, energetic, schooled at Barcelona. I always look back at these things, You need somebody who has a bit of Cruyffian education in him. Schooled at Barcelona or schooled at Ajax. If you look at through all Erik ten Hag signings, they have that kind of history. Yeah. In Dutch football, either they've been to Ajax before, be it Feyenoord or wherever. So I always prefer someone who has schooled at Ajax before, someone with a bit of Cruyffian education. When you look back at all of Erik ten Hag signings, they all seem to have that kind of background, the Dutch background, either being coached by it, he's coached them before, or they've played at Ajax before, something like, or Barcelona, So Todibo is someone who I think will fit perfectly into our team. He would also be a long-term replacement for Varane. We all know about Rafa Varane's injury issues. If it wasn't for the injuries and his age, he's just fantastic. But then we all just have to accept that, he has to play fewer games. You have to manage him. So Todibo will be an excellent signing. And Sofiane Amrabat, we need a defensive midfielder who can deputize ably for Casemiro. Over the few years, McTominay has been asked to play that role, but then that's not really his position, is it? He's more like a box-to-box midfielder. So we need an expert midfielder to be able to take that role. Kobbie Mainoo has been brought into the limelight by Erik ten Hag. After promoting Garnacho last season, he wants to bring through another young boy from our academy. Youth courage success. You know what Manchester United is all about.
That's the Man United way.
Exactly, the Man United way. But then he suffered an unfortunate injury in preseason, in a game against Real Madrid. And is going to be out for some time. We can't leave ourselves short in that midfield. So if you're able to get rid of certain bodies, Fred is gone, Donny is gone, you can bring in Amrabat. Maguire leaves, you can bring in Todibo. And I can call the window a good one, a very successful one, a 9 over 10 window, actually, if you're able to carry all these signage through.
All right, so we'll see how this goes in the course of the season. And the transfer window officially shuts on the 31st of August. This one, so we just have barely 2 weeks to go, or barely 3 weeks.
Just 2 weeks and
some few days to go. So we'll see how things unfold, and trust this channel. We'll be here to discuss any new thing that comes up. We'll be here to dissect it. Try and give you our perspective on what we think are the issues with regards to some of these players, the rationale behind it, whether we agree with it or not. It changes nothing, but that's our opinion. So that's basically what we'll be doing here on this channel. So please remember to subscribe. Please remember to share with your friends. Always remember to subscribe, share with your friends. Let's enjoy our time here on that. So let's quickly move on to the season itself. The season has started yesterday. Man City with 3-0 winners against Burnley. We'll be looking at that. Let's finish United. Remember, it's United and everything football. United.
Yeah.
So
You're going to be a bit biased, but that's just how it's going to work.
That's how it's going to work. Unfortunately, that's how it's going to work. Right. So we went into preseason, played some games. Let's tie the preseason into our first game against Wolves. For me, I felt we had an okay preseason, not results-wise, but you could see the development of the game, the ideas that the coach sought to implement. I always tell United fans that I speak to that if you still don't see the kind of ideas that Eric is trying to implement, then you would have to get a better lens. Or
you just don't want to see it.
You just don't
want humans see what they want.
What they want to see. That's clearly that. But clearly you could see the way the coach wants to play. And he's been very emphatic about building the best transition team in the world. That's what his mission has been about. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe you might want to educate our fans or people who are refusing to see what exactly is this transition football Eric is talking about. Let's tie that into it.
That's a very good question. That's a very, very good question.
Let's zoom straight into the Wolves game as well after you are done with the explanation.
All right. So transition football, many people mistake it for counter-attacking football.
Yeah.
That's a totally different thing. Counter-attacking football is just, sitting back, especially in your half, ceding possession to the opponents, and then waiting to regain possession and then attack as quickly as possible. That's totally different from transition football. In transition football, you're not ceding possession to anyone. That's not the idea. That's not the principle. So the principle is not to sit back your own half and soak pressure. Transition football is getting the ball forward quickly as possible and counter-pressing when you don't have the football. So it's all about getting the football back. See, that's what we used to play back in the day, except for the fact that we had players playing in set positions compared to what modern-day football has thrown at us, where you have inverted fullbacks and inside forwards and all those kind of things. Back in the day, it was a left winger on the left, Ryan Giggs, a right winger on the right,
You have your 6 and your 8.
Yes.
Your 9 and your 10.
It was just basic, but then the principle behind it was still the same. United used to play fast, quick transition football back in the day. Erik ten Hag recognizes that this is in the club's DNA, right? It's in the club's DNA to play with fast players, to play quickly when we do get the ball, have players who can see the spaces and put in very quick passes. And when we do lose the ball, he wants a team that is able, energetic, quick enough to be able to counter press, get the ball back, and continue certain actions, whilst keeping possession. Counter-attacking football is not necessarily keeping possession. Transition football involves keeping possession. So they are two totally different things. So let's just get that down so that our fans do understand. So many people were thinking Erik ten Hag was coming in to come and play, tiki-taka, But then all these coaches that have gone through the Cruyffian school, Pep Guardiola, Erik ten Hag himself, Xavi, even Arteta have certain variations to the Cruyffian principles. So you put your own touch to it. So he's put his own touch to it. He has his idea of United should play a United way, and he's buying players to sort of fit into that mode. That's how come a player like Mason Mount will appeal to him, whilst he may not appeal to a lot of United fans. That's why he'll probably prefer Rasmus Højlund to. I don't think he did not want Kane, but then I understand why he wants
the conditions,
conditions and everything. But then what happens, what I think Højlund would offer that Kane, it's hard to say anything against Kane, but then what Kane may not have offered us is the pressing, the energy to press all the time. I think we can get that from the young legs. Exactly, that's the word.
Yes.
That's the word.
Yeah.
And if we do get Onana playing like Onana, it completely changes the way we want to play. We push up the field more. Things will completely look different. So when I looked at preseason, I did see a bit of that, but you could also see flaws in how we wanted to press, especially. It wasn't always as a unit, so teams could play through us a bit. We saw that against Real Madrid, especially. Real Madrid is what we actually aspire to be in modern day football right now. They are the
best
one transition
team
in the world. Most people just go just find Vinicius, just play the ball to Vinicius. It's transition football at its finest. And then they bought players who can actually complement that. That's what we aspire to be. So we got schooled a bit by the best transition team in the world, but then it's not a bad place to be the second best transition team in the world right now. So we can build on that as the season goes along.
All right. So against Wolves, generally, in 3 minutes, we are hard pressed for time.
Wolves.
Yes.
All right. So Wolves are going through a bit of a bad time right now. They haven't had the best of preseasons.
Yeah.
And they've lost some players. They've also lost their manager.
Yeah.
And then they've appointed someone who did quite a good job last year, but you wouldn't call O'Neill he's good, but then come on,
of course,
it's just he's not top tier.
Yes.
So I think Wolves have lost a bit. They aren't coming into this game with the best of preparations. I think for us, we would want to start well. Definitely, we want to start better than we did last season. We started off with 2 losses last season. We want to get off to a better start this season. And on the injury front, we are not in a very bad situation. We basically have a strong squad to start the season, So I expect us to make a statement on Monday night, put a marker down and say this is what we want to be for the rest of the entire season. I expect us to start well. I expect us to win comfortably. I don't expect any hiccups, to be honest.
All right.
It should be a comfortable home win.
All right. So my probable lineup for the day, I'm expecting Onana in. I'm expecting Aaron Wan-Bissaka to start ahead of Dalot. I feel he's a
that's another position where fans but then we'll discuss that. We'll probably discuss that later.
Of course. Luke Shaw in there, starting at left back. We'll have Varane still fit. Martinez is back in there. So after his injury on this, is this the 5th metatarsal or something? I don't know. You're a medical person.
He looked good. He looked good in preseason.
He looked good. Yeah, he looked good in preseason and all of that. Casemiro will be at the base. You'll have a double 8 of Mason Mount and then Bruno Fernandes. We'd expect also the attack. I'm expecting Rashford to lead the lines on Monday, and then Garnacho on the right, Anthony on the left. In that
more
game,
like Garnacho on the left, Anthony on the right.
Garnacho on the left, Anthony on the right. In that game, so that's what I'm really looking forward to and all of that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with every single selection you've made.
I think it's become very obvious. Especially looking at the game we played against Lens. on Saturday and the way we would want to play and all of that. So so that's it for United. In 2 minutes, we're going to discuss the Premier League. Just 2 minutes. Just 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Who's winning the
we'll
league? Who is winning the league? Is it City? You think Arsenal will be Arsenal, or we should expect anything different? Who is winning the league? Your top four, quickly. Your top four.
All right, top four. In order or?
In order.
So obviously, I'm going to say United are going to win the league.
Of course. I would have just taken you off if you had said otherwise.
Obviously, but it's not going to be easy. It's going to be really tough. We have to have a lot of things going our way to be able to, annex our first league trophy.
Let me put it this way. Eric says that we have shown capability of beating every team, but we must show consistency in doing that.
Consistency, yeah. Consistency. I'm
sure that's the word.
You need to start the season well, show consistency throughout the season, and end well, because City always end well. So I'm going to go United first, City second, Arsenal third. And depending on how this Caicedo thing goes, we all woke up yesterday to the most unbelievable transfer
drama
ever. A drama, absolute chaos.
A huge saga.
Liverpool and Chelsea for Caicedo. Yeah, depending on where this Caicedo thing goes, I'm gonna say if Liverpool get him, because it's not confirmed as Chelsea have got him yet, but if Liverpool get him, they take fourth spot. If they don't get him and they miss out on Lavia, that new midfield just doesn't seem to work for me. So I'd go Chelsea fourth if Chelsea do end up. Yeah, I'll go Chelsea fourth. If Chelsea do end up signing
is going Chelsea fourth.
Like I said, yeah. It depends on that transfer. It solely depends on the defensive midfield signing. So
all right. Okay.
So depending on where they go,
where all these things go, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. All fine. I'm going United, City, Arsenal, and I think Liverpool. Liverpool before, irrespective of anything. I still think the Chelsea team is a bit more inexperienced. They would have a lot to do. The overhaul has been so drastic. We will look at all of these things in our next episode.
Fortunately, we get to see them against Liverpool.
Of course, over the weekend. All right. Thank you so much, Kwame. It's been an amazing time. I really enjoyed myself recording this new podcast. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll be doing it more often. Watch out for our second episode next week. Will come your way. Please remember to hit the subscribe button. Also, share with your friends, share with everyone, so that you will enjoy this amazing content that we'll be bringing to you. Thank you so much for joining us. See you next week on the same channel. Thank you, Kwame. We have a signature. His name is Kwame. And my name is Kwame. Thank you so much. Have a great time.